everyone. Thank you for inviting me to make this presentation to you today, and happy Thanksgiving. A bit of a clarification to begin with. The job title we typically use at the University of Dayton for this position is Programmer Analyst. So I will use that term interchangeably with Systems Analyst throughout this presentation. And for those of you who are not familiar with the University of Dayton, here are a few facts about it. Many people are surprised to learn that it is private and that it's affiliated with the Roman Catholic Church. It's the largest private university in Ohio. You can see other facts about it there. And just a few words about my role at the University of Dayton. I've actually been here for 24 years, and I began as a senior programmer analyst, and I am a member of the central IT staff. We also have some distributed smaller units within some of our divisions. And over the past decade or so, I've had several promotions. So I'm now actually currently serving as the director of our ERP CRM team, which is a team of programmer analysts. And I actually have, our team consists of 10 team members and myself. At this point, I've worked so many years as a programmer analyst. I'm still very much a hands-on director, but I am transitioning to a more managerial role, not completely successfully at this point yet. And for those of you who are not familiar with the University of Dayton, here's an aerial view of our beautiful campus. From an administrative perspective, a university is similar to a small city, but with an overlay of higher education. For example, University of Dayton, like many small cities, has a police department, a health center, landscaping, buildings, dining halls or restaurants. It has supplies to purchase, bills to pay, taxes to pay, employees to pay. And then on top of that, it has all the higher ed tasks such as registration, grading, billing, payments, room assignments, etc. And to tackle all these administrative tasks and more, and like many cities and corporations, our university has an ERP, or an enterprise resource planning system. And the name of the system that we use at UD is Banner, and the company name, the owner of Banner, is Ellucian. Banner is targeted for higher education institutions, and I believe it is very widely used. It may be the most popular ERP used by universities in the United States. And another system that's under my oversight is a CRM, constituent relationship management system. And we use Salesforce, which is used to manage customer relationships, constituent relationships. And it's currently used by our enrollment management division for recruiting and admissions. As I am more familiar with our ERP than with our CRM, and also because most of our systems analysis type work occurs within our ERP, I will focus on the work we do with Banner in today's presentation. So this diagram is an illustration of our Banner system at UD. As you can see, it has three main modules: student, HR, payroll, and finance. The student module consists of things such as registration, grading, student accounts, course management. HR payroll more or less speaks for itself. And then the finance system consists of submodules such as accounts payable, accounts receivable, general ledger management, etc. And data and information flows between these three modules. And that's the beauty of an ERP system, is that the integrations between these modules are built-in components of Banner. We did not have to write those. So that is one of the advantages of an ERP. And you could see by this illustration that the three modules also share some data. For instance, in the middle triangle, you see constituents. So any one person or constituent can be a student, can be an employee, and can be a vendor for finance. And many people do fit all of those three roles. So that's another advantage of an ERP system, is that, for instance, in this case, people data only has to exist once. We don't have multiple copies of, or multiple iterations of people data, so to speak. So you might be wondering why we need a team of 10 programmer analysts to support purchase software. Well, ERP systems do not include everything, just major functionality. So here's a list of some of the types of tasks we do, some of the systems we support. So we support probably about 30 other third-party systems that are tightly integrated with Banner. And some of those include 2 timekeeping systems. And by timekeeping systems, I mean systems that have time clocks, because Banner is not actually a time clock system itself. We have an e-procurement system that manages our purchase orders and invoices and other financial transactions, other similar financial transactions. And then integrated with our student module is a subsystem called a Student Success Network, which is focused on student retention. Data extracts, we have probably over 100 of these. Some examples are data extracts that we send to our bank to pay our bills and to pay our employees. Data extracts that contain student information that is exported to systems, for instance, that are used by the University Health Center, and another data extract file of student information for our housing system. We have customized Banner somewhat. We try to limit the actual customization to Banner code, because that becomes a maintenance issue. Whenever Banner issues upgrades, we have to then rewrite our customizations. Well, we do have a few of those. For example, one customization that we support is Banner has the capability for our faculty members to enter midterm grades for our students. And at our university, those midterm grades are only required for freshmen and sophomore. And so we've modified that process to indicate by a green check mark the students who are freshmen and sophomore, so that the instructors know that they're required to enter midterm grades for them. We probably have about well over 100 bolt-on processes that are not customizations of Banner itself, but work with Banner to automate certain processes. Some examples are for our direct deposits, we have a pre-noting process. For our student module, we have a custom process that is used to apply registration holds. For instance, this fall, we ran that process to apply registration holds to students who had submitted their paperwork for their meningitis vaccine. We have a customization for our transcript process. In terms of data manipulation, these cover a multitude of functional items, such as processes to correct errors. A couple of years ago, we had a major project where we switched from one set of accounting values to another, and we probably had to write about 50 one-time scripts to accomplish that conversion. We also support our customers, and our customers are our business owners in the administrative offices. So in the office of the registrar, the controller's office, HR, the academic units. Some of the things we do, some examples of things we do for them are to help them navigate various Banner forms, or to configure various Banner functionalities, such as I'm working with our controller's office now to configure sales tax on our invoices. And for all our projects, major or minor, we follow the software development lifecycle. And that consists of requirements gathering, the actual coding, unit testing, validation, approval by a peer, and then the custom processes are presented to our business owners or functional users for testing and validation and approval. And then one of the final steps is deployment to the production environment, and then ongoing maintenance and support of those custom processes. At some businesses, programmers and programmer analysts are siloed. Perhaps the developer only writes code, doesn't do the testing, doesn't perform the testing or the validation. Perhaps another team is responsible for that, and then maybe a third team is responsible for maintenance. In our organization, our programmer analysts are responsible for the entire life cycle. So some of the typical tasks that our programmer analysts do on any given day. These are some examples. We have tomorrow I've scheduled a working session with someone from the registrar's office to assist with the use of a tricky banner form. One of my team members is currently working on a new extract file for our health insurance company. We only learned on Friday that we have to completely rewrite this process, and it's due on December 10th. So we're working on adding wire transfer as a payment method for our accounts payable process. Banner has a tool called a workflow tool. We have over 100 workflow processes, and these are used extensively by our financial aid office. One of them, for instance, that we're working on right now routes the FAFSA form for an incoming student and other documents related to that student to the appropriate financial aid counselor. And another example of a task that one of our staff members is working on right now is the support of a new third-party system that assists with transfer equivalency. My team member is writing a process that will import that information into Banner. At UD, a typical day for a programming analyst on our team consists of the following activities. We have a brief daily team meeting, usually in the morning, and we inaugurated those at the beginning of the pandemic because we were all working remotely, but we have retained those even though we're now back in the office for the most part, because they're very useful in terms of keeping abreast of the activities we're working on. As I mentioned, most team members are back to working in our campus offices. Because of the lingering pandemic, we are also allowing hybrid work schedules for some of our programmer analysts. We also have quite a few workshop meetings where we work together to troubleshoot or solve various issues. We have requirements meetings. Those are typically with our end users, our functional users, to hammer out what they actually want and what that. Sometimes and at some of those meetings, we contribute quite a bit of input to those meetings. I would say that a typical team member right now is spending a couple of hours a day in various kinds of meetings. We also have a war room. It's actually our training center, but we use that for major projects. There are workstations there, and people can also bring laptops. We have a conference room. It's a suite of rooms, and typically we will work there with both the programmer analysts and our business owners, business users. It's very helpful because for instance, if we have a question for the controller and the controller happens to be working there that day, we can just ask that question rather than sending an email. Our particular team has no formal on-call time. Many of our program analysts end up working extra hours for go live of major projects. The nature of our work. I would say that the two main components of our work are coding and then other tasks. And those other tasks would include troubleshooting, requirements gathering that I mentioned before, certainly testing. And I would say that the breakdown between coding and all these other tasks together is about 50-50. And then within coding itself, there are a couple kinds of coding. The new development, which are new projects, and then maintenance, defect corrections or enhancements. And I'd say the breakdown there is also about 50-50. So Banner is an administrative system. Most of the processes and most of our work is behind the scenes, so batch processes. We have almost no glitzy, glamorous web development. Banner does have an outward-facing component, which so that is more web development, but we have very few customizations in that. The languages, systems, and tool we use include SQL, which is a query language. Banner is based on an Oracle database, so we use Oracle SQL, and then we also use PL SQL, which is the corresponding programming language. Many of our processes are written in the C programming language, and we use some of these other tools I've mentioned here. Unix, we have Unix scripts. There are several proprietary coding and scripting languages that we use also. So I surveyed our team, the 11 members of our team, to determine the background of our team members as far as education experience. And most of our programmer analysts have a degree, and most of those have a degree in MIS, so Management Information Systems. One team member has an IT-related degree, but it's not a programming-related IT degree. So he essentially had no programming experience when he began. One of our members has a liberal arts degree, and one of our team members does not have a degree. And you can see that most of our team members have quite a bit of programming experience at more than 10 years. And we do have one person that came in at a junior level. So I've tried to list some of the attributes, skills, and expertise, units of areas of expertise that I think are valuable to a person in a programmer analyst role at the University of Dayton. Many of these are learned behaviors, so I would not expect a new college graduate to have these. However, when I'm hiring people, I try to find people who either have these attributes, or they would have the show the ability to acquire them. And these are in no particular order. Attention to detail is important. We do quite a bit of our work deals with money and grades. And on the money side, we deal with accountants. So things have to be exact down to the penny. And of course, we all know how important grades are. Discipline, that's important because in programming, there are frequently several ways any one task can be accomplished. Some of these are easier, they might be shortcuts, but those are not always the best way to do something. It takes a lot of discipline sometimes to do it the best way, but it's the best way because it's better in the long run for other people to support the code that you're writing. Programming knowledge and database familiarity, those are attributes we look for because they're kind of a first step in the job of a programmer analyst. Consistency, we have that's important in terms of naming conventions and things like that. We have standards, and we like people to follow those standards without policing, because we don't have time to monitor this. So we're looking for people who already have developed that habit. Common sense is a critical thing. Sometimes when you're writing a process or a program, the results just don't make sense. It's important to realize that you're looking for something that maybe should have returned a report that was 2,000 rows, and instead your report is 50,000. So it helps to have common sense in those situations, and initiative. We're looking for people that can take a project and hit the ground running and complete that project with little guidance or with little assistance. So here's some more communication. I think most of these apply to any type of job. An eagerness to learn. This is especially important because we are in an IT role, and IT changes constantly. So it's the ability to learn new things is critical. and collaboration, resiliency, all these things are important. Logic and deductive reasoning. Through this job at the University of Dayton, it's not necessary to have an advanced mathematics background or scientific background, and certainly no training in formal logic, but it is important to understand, deductive reasoning and simple program flows, what I call logic. And these are a few things that I think are a bit harder to pin down, but they're still important. Every day is a new task, a new puzzle, a new mystery, something to figure out. So it requires creative troubleshooting and problem solving. We like our team members to be engaged, both in their jobs and in their interactions with our fellow team members. And this an ability to drive a problem through to its final resolution with limited guidance is very important. So a little bit about the benefits of this type of job. There's a great deal of variety. It's never boring. We collaborate with our team members and with our external users quite a bit, our customers. As I mentioned before, almost every task is a puzzle or a mystery. And we do have quite a bit of camaraderie within our team and within our department. So advice for people who might be interested in pursuing this career: job shadowing is always a good idea. We're always eager to have people come and shadow us for a day or so. Of course, hands-on programming courses, there's no better way to learn programming than to actually do it. I mentioned this before, an eagerness to learn new technology. And it is my personal recommendation to pursue a college degree. I think that's useful, not just in terms of IT knowledge, but in terms of personal development. Are there any questions? And here's my contact information.
Thank you, Janet. I appreciate it. A lot of valuable information. There were a couple questions that came through. First of all, is there any certification that a student should seek if they want to be a program analyst?
There are plenty of certifications available. I know, for instance, I mentioned Salesforce. We use Salesforce, and there are certainly certifications for that, and that would be a very valuable skill. As I mentioned, we use SQL and PL SQL. We do, and there are certifications for that. We at the University of Dayton do not require that, but if a candidate presented with a certification in SQL or PL SQL, we would be that would be an extra feather in the cap. That would certainly make us more interested in that person.
Okay, great. And then as a program analyst, do you consider that an entry-level position, mid-level?
Our unit typically hires mid-level in program analysts. We call them senior program analysts. We do hire entry-level, not as frequently. There's another team within my department that also hires program analysts, and they typically do hire entry-level. So either, I would say.
Okay. And then what's the career path progression? So if you wanted to be a program analyst, you said there's an entry level, and then this is typically the mid-level, then what would be the next level?
Well, so we are actually here at UD working on adding a career ladders. So right now it seems that in our group, you almost wouldn't, to advance from that senior programmer analyst position, you would become a team lead, or possibly a technical lead. But we're adding more granularity to the senior programmer analyst. We're adding several levels to that, so you might start at level 1 and work your way up to level 5, because we feel that it's important to develop that technical talent without having to go into management, because there are many people that are not interested in management.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions? Well, this is very informational. We definitely appreciate your time today, Janet. We'll let you go. We appreciate all the information you provided, and her information is on the screen if anybody wants to contact Janet in the future, have any follow-up questions. So with that, I want to thank Janet from UD, and now I want to introduce Megan from CAE.